This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and back with us for a part 3 shoot interview is none other than former WWE wrestler Mario Mancini. How are you doing today?
Well, good, brother. And 8-second Vice TV famous, right?
Oh, were you on Vice TV?
I was on the 9 Lives of Vince McMahon on the Rita Chatterton segment.
Oh, okay. Well, that hasn't aired here in Canada. We don't get Vice, and it's not on YouTube. So maybe you could tell us about your part, and also how was the documentary?
Well, my part was they took a clip from Cheap Heat with Maurice and I, and basically it was the day Rita told me her allegations, back in '86, and that was it. And then they talked about how it all happened, and then they showed a whole picture of the wrestling school back in 83. Actually, it was 84. A whole picture of us in the wrestling school with Rita in there. It was a 2-minute and 27-second cover entirely. As far as it as a whole, I thought it was fair and balanced. If I can steal a saying from Fox News, I thought it was fair and balanced. Listen, I know of Vince McMahon. I worked for Vince McMahon. I've spoken to Vince McMahon. I can count on one hand how many times I've spoken to him. So not that it's an excuse, but I didn't know the guy's childhood was like that. I didn't know he was, sexually abused, and he was raised by a abusive stepfather, extremely abusive stepfather. And, he met his biological father when he was 15 years old, right? Got me. I didn't know that. So, it was interesting. But as I said before, a lot of people have a lot of things that happened to them when they were a child or in the past, and it might be hard to deal with, but you get help. You go to therapy. I think if Vince McMahon ever went to therapy, I think that would be the last day that therapist would do that job. They'd probably quit.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. So that referee, I guess it came out last week. I saw the article that she sent a demand letter through her lawyer to Vince, I guess, for wanting over $11 million related to the alleged sexual assault back in 1986.
Right. So what had happened was this past November, New York came out with what's called a look back law. So you have until November of 2022 to November of 2023, no matter when, it could have been 1962, that you were sexually abused or assaulted or anything like that, and you can bring a claim. Basically, what they've done was waive the statute of limitations. So that's how she got to bring suit in this case. Like I said, I stand by what I've said in New York Magazine. I stand by, they confirmed that in the Wall Street Journal last week and on podcasts. And the reason why I stand by it is the question posed was this communicated to me in 1986? And the answer is yes. Whether the content told to me is true, that's up to a judge or a jury, or to decide from the facts whether that's true or not. Now the point that it was communicated to me? My answer is yeah, it was. That's the point of the whole thing. You know what I mean? So and then they brought my brother Greg Valentine into it, and because she had mentioned something to him back in like '89. And again, Valentine's he's in the same boat I'm in. He's like, yeah, she told me that. But Valentine blatantly came out and said, I think it's a lie. You know what I mean? I don't think it happened. Whereas, I didn't say that. I'm like, I don't know. What you asked me is if it was said to me, and my answer is yes, it was.
So why did she confide in you of all people, and obviously Greg Valentine too? Uh, I guess you guys were friends from working with her and seeing her backstage or something.
No. So the first person she told was Andre the Giant. Well, Andre's not here anymore. So that left me. Valentine came up later. That was recent. That was only a couple months ago. Until then, it was just me and Andre's not here. No, if you look, you can even look on my Facebook handle. I think it's there. There's a group picture a newspaper took of Tony Altomar, who was our trainer, and the entire wrestling school. So after I was in for a while, I would go back to the wrestling school. If I was off, I'd go back to the wrestling school and I would work in the ring because I was a lunatic. And I couldn't get enough. I couldn't get enough. And that's why Mario Mancini looked the way he did. And they asked me if I have any regrets, and I do. And one of the biggest regret I have is not going to like a Gold's Gym or a World's Gym, because the ring was in the gym. So I would go in and work out, I'd start doing chest and everything. And then I'd start, I'd get halfway done with that. I'd be looking at the ring and looking at the ring and looking at the ring. And before I know, I'd drop the weights and I'd be in the ring for 2.5 hours, hitting the ropes, going over the top, going through the middle, hitting the turnbuckles, taking bumps, beals. I just love the ring. So, that's why Mario looks like Baby Huey, because if I went to another gym, I would have been able to focus on the weights until 1989, when I really took it seriously and I started powerlifting competitively and taking steroids. So, so Rita walked in and she said, she looked at Tony Altomar and said, I'd like to be a referee. And he's like, wow, there is no female referee. And she's like, yeah, I'd like to do that. And she joined the school and we worked with her and helped Tony train her. So she actually came out of the same school myself came out of, Roma came out of, AJ Petrucci came out of, Dave Barbie came out of, Robbie Parliament came out of, Ted Arcidi came out of. That's where she learned. That's how we became like a brother and sister, because she came to the same wrestling school that we all went to. So that's how that happened.
And could you share with us what is her version of the story between her and Vince? Was it a full intercourse thing, or?
Well, her story, her words are, the exact story is this. She was at a diner and Vince was there at the same diner. They were at different tables and she wasn't getting that booked that much. And she walked over to talk to Vince about getting more bookings. And Vince had already pumped her up and said, she's going to be on the front of cover of Women's Day and she's going to pay her X amount of dollars. And she's finding herself not booked that much. So she went to go talk about the bookings. And when she went to go talk about her bookings, she not here. So they ended up leaving the diner and Vince had a limo out there and the limo driver was still in the diner. And Vince said, well, get in a limo, we'll talk about it. So went in the limo, talked about it, and in her words, he unzipped his pants, took out his gimmick, and forced her to have oral sex with him, and she didn't complete it. And when she didn't complete it, he got irate and pulled her jeans off and pulled her on top of him until he did. That's her story. And I shortly after that, I walked into an arena, and of course she was there, and I went up to say hello to her. Why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? We're at the same school, and we got close, and she just started crying. I said, "Well, what are you crying for?" She goes, I wanted to talk to Vince, and I got into his limo, and I went, "Oh, tell me you didn't do that." She said it was terrible, and she told me the story. And I said, "You're done. You're through. You'll never work again. You're done. Through." And shortly after that, she was gone.
So I guess her bookings just dried up, and she stopped getting booked after that.
Yeah. I told her she was done. All done. I go, you're through. He's not using you anymore. You're done.
So she didn't report it to the police right away. She actually continued.
No. Well, Hannibal, her again, her words, her explanation. You can watch this on Geraldo on YouTube from 1992, because that's when she first tried to file suit, but the statute of limitations was up. And her reason for waiting so long is that her parents were elderly, and if it got out, they weren't well. Excuse me. And if it got out, it would certainly kill them. So she didn't want to say anything while her parents was alive. I think it was like 2 weeks after her last parent passed away, she came out with it. The statute of limitations was blown. Vince countersued her for defamation, but he had other stuff coming up, legal stuff coming up, and he dropped the suit. That was the end of it.
Now, you mentioned Ted Arcidi was also from your school in New Jersey. I saw you wrestle him not too long ago, and I've done an interview with him. He seems like a really nice guy. Any memories of him?
Oh, yeah. Listen, Steve Blackman came out of that wrestling school, too. So, yeah, Ted wasn't really ready yet. So, they wanted him at TV in Poughkeepsie. I was his first match. I had to be his first match because I was doing most of the work with him. So I had said to Strongbow, I said, if you want this guy in TV, I got to work with him. I said, I have to call things in there. He's not really that ready yet. But Ted was funny. Oh, what a funny guy. What a nice guy. What a funny guy. Hannibal, there used to be a grocery store across from Pastoral's Quest at the gym, and it was called Edwards Food Warehouse, and he would go there, and I don't know if you've ever seen these. They're a sight to see. It's a can. It's a family size can of Chef Boyardee macaroni and meatballs. Family size can. And he'd have that sitting on the couch in front of the front desk at the gym. And he would I go, Ted, what are you doing? He goes, I'm eating cobs. He would do neck raises. He'd lay on his stomach on a flat bench and put a towel around his head. And he would tell me to sit on his head, the back of his head, with my feet off the floor. And he would do neck raises with me on the back of his neck. He used to do nose breakers with 315. Nose breakers with 315.
So I guess his first match would have been in WWE against you then, since he was signed. He was one of the few back then that would have been signed without any experience, just because he was huge and a strong man, and I guess they wanted someone to replace Ken Patera because he was in jail apparently.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the deal on that. He wasn't just a strong man. He was crowned the strongest man in the world. He bench pressed 705 in Hawaii, so he was the strongest man in the world. The fight, he was telling us funny stories about that. Hannibal Kazmaier would call him and leave messages on his answer machine going, "You can't do it. You can't do it," because he was breaking Kazmaier's record if he did it. So Kazmaier would leave him messages all the time going, "You can't do it." So yeah, he was a great, funny guy, just a great guy. I was happy to see him. I think he was a boxing promoter in the movie The Fighter. I jumped up. I went, "There's Ted." But he was a good guy. He was a happy-go-lucky guy. And he didn't know the business for a while. You know what I mean? I remember Tito trying to work with him to loosen him up. As you can imagine, it was very difficult for him to be light while he worked. Very difficult because it's just so enormous. But we did the best we could. But as a human being, fantastic. He's just a great guy.
And you brought up Andre the Giant earlier with the referee talking to him. What was his reaction to hearing that news about Vince?
He was pissed. Rita told me that he was pissed. And he didn't talk to Vince for a little bit, and Vince was very concerned about that. And one of the agents, this is another hearsay story. One of the agents went up to Rita and said, "We'll give you $5,000 not to be friends with Andre." So she told Andre, and Andre said, "Go up to them and tell them 50. Tell them 50,000 and we won't be friends, but we still will be. But tell them 50,000. We just, we won't be friends in public." Because she got very close to Andre. Yeah, he wasn't happy about it, and that suit, if it was brought in time in '92, would have been very crucial if the statute didn't expire, because Andre was still alive.
Yeah, he could have testified.
Yeah.
And as far as Andre, I did see a match with you and Kamala where Andre came out at the end of it and the crowd went absolutely nuts, because I guess that was a more rare thing back then. Now, if someone comes out during a match, you barely hear a peep, but I saw all the fans on their feet and everything.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Andre?
It was, I'm a little upset about that video on YouTube because they cut it off, because at the end he actually walked me back to the dressing room, and you could just see how enormous the guy was. We walked side by side back to the dressing room. Andre liked me. He thought I worked hard in the ring, and I listened to my second dad, Strongbow, and I kept my mouth shut. So I wasn't a guy that was constantly talking in the dressing room and everything, and Andre recognized that. So, I abided by the rules of the business. I got a buddy, Lou. He knows nothing about the wrestling business, so he texts me. I found this hilarious. I don't know if anybody else will, but he goes, "Hey, Mark." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I watched this match with Kamal and Andre came out." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "And then I watched this match with Bad News Brown, and Andre came out again, shook your hand," because before my match with Bad News Brown, Andre had been away making The Princess Bride. So that was his first appearance back to the WWF after he was done with the movie. So before I worked with Bad News Brown, they brought him out. And he came in, shook the referee's hand, my hand, and then, of course, Bad News wouldn't shake his hand. He's a heel, so he wouldn't shake his hand. And Andre left. So my buddy Luke goes, "This guy comes out twice, 2 different matches, and he doesn't help you. What's up with that?" And I don't know, Lou. He goes, he literally just left you there. One time he watched you get beat up, and the other time he just came in and shook your hand and let you. He won't help you. He couldn't help you. He started laughing. I go, no, Lou. He didn't help me. I'm sorry. But Andre didn't have a middle road. Andre saw black and white. So if he liked you, you were fine. If he didn't, you were screwed. So I'm you'd never hear Andre say, he's okay. No. He either liked you or he didn't. So I was fortunate. I'll admit, I stayed away from him in battle royals. I don't know. I just didn't want to get hit by Andre. Every time I get close to him in a battle royal, I went the other way. I want to go the other way. So I didn't. No, I wasn't. I wouldn't. I didn't work with him in battle royals, which would be the only opportunity I would have had to work with him. So
yeah, and I recently read the WWE's drug testing policy, and I guess now they have a rule out that you can't consume alcohol within 12 hours of an appearance or an event. Obviously, they didn't have that rule for Andre back then.
No, they didn't have that rule for anybody. Let me tell you something. I never seen people so obsessed with beer in my day. I mean, beer was everything. Where's a beer? Where's a beer? Where's a beer? Beer. I mean, they just lived for beer. I think more than weed. I mean, they just wanted their beer. You know what I mean? I remember being at a Red Roof Inn in Columbus, Ohio, and a Ground Round, this restaurant, Ground Round, was connected to it. And I was sitting there with Jim Danville Neidhart and Bret Hart at a table, and the waitress comes over, and Bret orders whatever he orders, and Anvil orders a double Jack Daniels. And the waitress looks at me and I said, I'll have a Diet Coke. And then she came back over, and, Anvil got another double Jack Daniels, and I go, I'll have another Diet Coke. And Anvil looks across to me and goes, hey, Mancini, don't you drink? I go, no. He goes, you would have never made it in the NFL, ever. I go, good thing I don't play for the NFL. But listen, I just so, when I tell people I don't drink, they kind of scratch their head and go, oh, I must have had a problem. I tried, and again, on podcasts, I just spill it all. I tried to drink when I was in high school. Beer was terrible, so bitter, disgusting. I tried to drink wine, doubled over, white and red. I mean, extreme abdominal pains. I've been drunk twice in my life. I'm 56 years old. And both times was on Jack Daniels, about 4 shots of Jack Daniels, and I was obliterated. So twice in my life I've been drunk. So it just doesn't appeal to me at all.
Well, consider yourself lucky for that. Josh wants to know, how many times have you been pile driven by Paul Orndorff?
Josh, it's funny you asked that. There is a video of me working with Paul Orndorff, and it was requested of me to do a stretcher match. This is a story. Oh my God. So I think it was before WrestleMania 1, I think. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. I usually have a great memory. I got one fan tore me apart because I was wrong about something. And my family never came to TV taping. Never. So my brother Bob, who's responsible for Mario Mancini, him and him alone, because he paid for my wrestling school. And I was going to do it a year later because I didn't have the money. So he went there the next day and bucked up the money. And I got to go to wrestling school right away because of him. So I asked him to come and my mother to Poughkeepsie. They were second row on the floor. So Chief comes up to me, goes, I need you to work with Orndorff. He said, I go, yeah, okay. Because I need you to take a pile driver on the floor, the stretcher match. I said, okay. What are you going to do, Hannibal? Say no? Take your boots off and go home. I mean, if they said, listen, you're going to get a pile driver from Bozo the Clown, that he's going to throw confetti all over you, and then he's going to roll you in a tar and feather you. You go, okay. I mean, let's face it. My trunks were pulled over on the side in Canada, in Brantford, Ontario, and I got branded by the Funk Brothers on my ass. I mean, yeah, okay, I'll do the stretcher, you know? And, yeah, he did a lot, and we still do love each other very much. So Hannibal, he doesn't throw me on any one of the other three sides. He throws me on the side where my brother and my mother are in the second floor, the second row. Gives me the pile driver. Now I decided in the dressing room that all the other guys that did stretchers, they would lay with their hands close to their body and their feet together. And I said to myself, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to land naturally. I want to land naturally. I don't want to do that. I really want to sell it well. So he gives me the pile driver on the floor, and one leg ends up on the apron, my right leg. My other leg is sprawled out, and I'm out cold. I'm out cold. I hear my mother, oh my God. Oh my God. My brother gets up, pokes through the first row, leans over, and he's going, Lenny. I'm going, this son of a bitch, screaming my real name. What are you doing? I'm like, Lenny. I had to go like this. Fast. When I did that, he shut up and he sat down. And then the ring guys came as the medical crew with the white coats and the stretcher and carried me off. Now, with that, I wouldn't get off the stretcher. And the Poughkeepsie Mid-Hudson Civic Center, like I've stated a million times, the hallway is like a mile long before you get to the dressing room. So they're carrying me down the hallway. I get into the dressing room. They carry me all the way out to the other side. I'm out cold on the stretcher. Will not get up until Strongbow went, get up. And I got up. When I heard Strongbow say, why, Mario? Because a couple TV tapings before that, a kid did a stretcher match. He's getting carried down the hallway, right? There's cops, there's employees. He's getting carried down that long hallway, sits up, jumps off the stretcher, and starts walking into the dressing room, toward the dressing room. Strongbow meets him at the counter. He goes, you dumb son of a bitch. God damn you. Get your stuff and get out of here. I'm like, oh, that's not going to happen to me. No, I wouldn't get off that stretcher until I heard him say, get up. And when I got up, he hugged me, patted me on the back, and rubbed my head. And he said, good boy. He goes, now listen, this was the first hour. You can't work again for the rest of the night. You're done. So shower, get paid, and you can go home. He goes, it's okay. You don't have to stay. It's better if you don't. So I had the ring guys go get my mother and my brother, and they met me on the other side of the arena, near the exit, the other side where the exit was. And my brother just looked at me. He goes, are you okay? I went, yeah. He goes, did your head hit the floor at all? I go, no. He goes, you son of a bitch. I said, thank you. Thank you so much, because that means I did my job. If I can sell my own brother, I sold everybody else out there. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story. You kind of said that when you were done with WWE, it was your choice not to do any more enhancement work, and you just went on to your regular job. So Jeff's asking why you never appeared for WCW.
You know, what is this? The Hannibal Mario Mancini regret show? Jeff, is that what this is? Well, let me tell you something, Jeff. I got out of the WWF 3 months before my 26th birthday. I was 25. So I entered 6 weeks after my 18th birthday. On July 31st of 1984. My birthday is June 21st. I graduated high school June 20th, turned 18 June 21st, turned pro July 31st, 84. I had a bad attitude. I would have loved to go to the WCW. I wasn't asked to go to the WCW. That's the only other place I would have went. In 1990, Brett asked me to go to Calgary. And I said, no. I said, I've been here for 6 years. He goes, yeah, and you're getting killed, and it's not going to get any better. Go to Calgary. I said, you're going to guarantee I'm coming back? Very nice of him to offer, because I said, I'm going to go there. Your father's going to break my arm. I got to ride on the bus for 14 hours. I go, you couldn't ask me in 86 when I was only in for a couple of years. I've been here for 6 years. You're asking me now if I want to go to Calgary. I had an attitude, and this was my attitude, Jeff. I am a huge baseball fan. Huge. That was my first dream, to play for the New York Yankees. My second dream was to be a pro wrestler. My first dream was to be a Major League Baseball player. And I had the mentality when I got out of the WWF that if I went to an independent circuit, it was like I got demoted to AAA. I couldn't get that out of my head. There I was playing for the Yankees, although I was a utility guy, right? I was a utility guy for the WWF. But, you know, I have a T-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees that says, yeah, I'm a jobber for the biggest effing company on the planet, right? So I felt like I got demoted to AAA, and I couldn't get that out of my head. Now, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, he's right. He goes, you're full, Mario. You could have got great paydays. He goes, you could have made great money on the independent circuit. You just got off the TV. And he's right. He's right. He's right. But I didn't. I just couldn't get that out of my head that I was demoted to AAA. I just... Plus, I had a bad experience. I had bad experiences at independent pro wrestling. So what do I mean by that? I mean, Killer Kowalski would call the office for talent for his shows in Massachusetts, and he'd send like me and SD, Iron Mike Sharp. And we walk into the dressing room, and you get the dirty look. Oh, here they come. Oh, they're better than us. Oh, here come the WWF guys. I just didn't like the way it made me feel. You know, it's like, you know, I respect anybody that gets between those ropes. Anybody who enters that ring, even a wrestling student, any one of my wrestling students, I have high respect for, because you really are risking your life going into that ring, and you better damn well know what you're doing when you go in there. So anybody who's got the guts to go in there, I respect, no matter if you're an independent pro wrestler, WWE, AEW, anybody who enters that ring, I have respect for, you know. But I didn't like the feeling I got when we used to get leased out to independent companies. You know what I mean? They'd pay the office a fee, and then the office would pay us whatever, usually $250, and then they probably got $750 a piece for us, $1,000 to give us $250. But I just didn't like the feeling, and I couldn't get that out of my head that I was getting demoted to AAA. I was like, I was wrestling, I was playing for the Yankees, and now I got to go and wrestle for the Mississippi Mudslingers or something. just couldn't get it out of my head. But it was a dumb move, and I should have kept going. Plus, I just got engaged, and I had met my daughter when she was 3.5. At that point, she was 6. I adopted her when she was 7. She's my daughter, and she's 37 years old now, so she's mine. And I didn't want to. I wanted to be home. You know what I mean? I wanted to be home. So I tooled around for a couple of years, and then I went to college in '94, and then after college, I ended up going to law school. So, I should have, though. I should have.
Michael wants to know that if you were considered one of the boys in WWE, or did they treat the enhancement talent like outsiders? You were a regular, so I could see how you'd be treated different than someone coming in once or twice.
Well, Michael, that's a good question. It took me about 2 years. 2 years. When I first started my first year taping in Poughkeepsie, I got dressed pretty close to the showers. My bag was always wet and everything. It took a couple of years to and some hazings, chops until in battle royals until my chest, opened up. My brother, my loving brother, and I mean that sincerely, David Schultz, broke my nose in 2 places in West Warwick, Rhode Island on August 9th, 1984. So happy he did that. That saved me a lot of more hazing. It took a couple of years, and before I got accepted, before I can speak to them, and we were talking on the same level. So, and I was getting treated no differently than they were being treated, and by the time I was in, 6, 7 years, then, my mouth was going, and, all this other stuff. And you're right. When somebody comes in for the first time, where they're there one or 2 times, and, I didn't do anything to make them feel any more comfortable, because that's what I went through. If I went through it, you have to go through it. That's the wrestling business. That's the way it is. You have to pay your dues, and you have to earn your respect. You just don't get it right off the bat. So, yeah. In fact, I look at Valentine at conventions, and I go, we should have been this close back then. You'd go, well, it was a different time back then. In Poughkeepsie, there was this big dressing room. Big room, and on the left side of it were 2 rooms, and those rooms had couches and sofas in it, and recliners, whereas outside of those rooms in the big room there were metal chairs. So I was in about 6 months, and I said, screw it, I'm going in one of those rooms. I'm going to go and get dressed in there. I don't care. I'm going in there. So I sat down and started putting my boots on and stuff, and all of a sudden I saw feet in front of me, and I looked up, and it was Valentine, and he went, hey. I said, hi. He goes, leave. Took my stuff, took my bag. I was gone. I was gone. And but after a while, this is how God blessed me. This is how good I have it. I was in Baltimore, Maryland, at a wrestling convention, and Ted was late, DiBiase, and he's walking by the tables, and he's on, hey, Ted, he's going, hey, walking to his table. So he goes to walk by mine, and I go, Ted, hey, I go, yeah, I know you're not walking by me like that. And he looked, he went, oh, she's Mario. And the guy, I was with my buddy, I was with my brother, Kevin Sabin, that I brought along with me, and he always tells that story, man. He loves that story, that Ted just stopped dead in his tracks, because I broke the record with DiBiase. While DiBiase's tenure in the WWE, nobody's worked more with him than me. I've done the most appearances on TV as a jobber with Ted DiBiase than anyone. So Ted and I got really close.
Yeah, I think Ted has maybe my highest viewed shoot interview of 2022 too. So I suggest fans check that out. Did you have a favorite arena to wrestle in? You got to wrestle in some of the greatest arenas in the time you were in WWE.
Obviously, the New Haven Coliseum was very dear to my heart because it was only 6 miles from my house. And when they announced me there, it was deafening. That was when I worked there was my only Hulk Hogan moments because they just went nuts because I was from Milford, Connecticut, and there it is sitting in New Haven, Connecticut, right? I got one of my only 3 wins in New Haven on it was actually September 11th, 1986 against Gino Carabello, and it was a fluke. So I called Gino and I said, hey, you want to go to New Haven tonight to hang around with the boys? He went, yeah. I go, let's go have some fun, man. So I walked in at 6:00 and Arnie just dropped his head and put his hands on his knees. And I go, Arnie, what's wrong? He goes, they're all on the same plane. The plane's late. They're not coming in until a half hour after the show starts. I need 30 minutes. I need you guys to get dressed, and I need 30 minutes. I go, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, okay. And he goes, what do you have for a finish? I went, I said, I got a reverse flying body press off the second rope. He goes, use it. I go, okay. Again, that night, I made the rounds with my whole family. Anybody want to come? Anybody? Because I get free tickets. Anybody want to come? Anyone? I get comps. No, nah. Are you working? No, I'm just going to say hello. Nah, we don't want to go. Okay. So that was a great moment. I remember the match so vividly because we needed to do 30 minutes. So I had Gino do the jacket routine as the heel. I had him, kind of Chippendale-ish kind of. The whole place started whistling. He put the jacket back on, kick the bottom rope, tell him to shut up. Then he'd plant himself in the middle of the ring like this. We'll try to take the jacket off again. They all come up. He'd slam his hands on the top rope, lean over, go up on the second rope. Keep your mouth shut when I'm taking my jacket off. I'm like, this is good. This is about 4 minutes now. So, the third time he just whipped it off, and then the bell rang, and then we squared off against each other. I said, Gino, spit right at me. And he goes, pooh, spits right out. I go run, and he goes underneath the bottom rope. I go chasing him, or we're running around the ring. We're running down the aisle. I'm trying to get him. He runs back into the ring. I'm running after him. We killed a good 10 minutes before we even laid a hand on each other. So it was a really good match. The referee came in at about, I'd say about 26 minutes, even though the internet's wrong. Boy, did that make me angry. In fact, the internet, somebody's got it on there. Like it was like an 11-minute match. I'm like, are you out of your mind? No way. So the ref came in at about, 23 minutes, and he went, everybody's here. Take it home. And, he stopped me, slammed me, gave me one buckle, went to go give me the other buckle. I got up on the second rope, came back with that reverse flying body press. Boom, boom, boom. When Howard Finkel announced my name, I was 3 feet from him, Hannibal, and I tell you, I couldn't hear him. I couldn't even hear him announce my name. That's how loud it was. It was the building was shaking. It was one of the greatest moments I experienced. Other than that, I wrestled Tony Atlas in Madison Square Garden. Another fluke. They were short because you're not going to, Mancini's not going to the Garden too often, I like the Philadelphia Spectrum because that's where Rocky was filmed, So there were a few arenas I enjoyed working in.
In the mid 80s, did they go to Madison Square Garden in Philadelphia monthly or twice a month? Okay.
Monthly, yeah.
Wow. Hard to believe that now it's like 3 or 4 times a year and it's not even sold out most of the time.
Yeah. No, the Garden was every month. every month.
Patrick wants to know if you have any memories of Barry O, who I believe is Randy Orton's uncle, that never really got a push.
Barry O and I got along very well in the dressing room. Obviously, he was in my position, so I really never, I didn't have an opportunity to work with him in the ring ever. But he was a good guy in the dressing room. Just one of the boys. I don't have anything. No. I don't remember that being August 13th. I don't have any outside the wrestling business kind of stories or anything like that, or it was just basically in the dressing room. Truth be told, the guys who smoked, I kind of tried to stay away from, because it was him and his brother smoked like a stack.
Yeah, and I think Randy Orton smokes too. I remember seeing him backstage with the nicotine pen, but I hear that he smokes weed too, but will just pay the fine, because apparently it's just a fine for weed in WWE. So he might have inherited that habit. But you were on Tuesday Night Titans with Vince McMahon, who we talked about earlier. And it was rare for enhancement talent to be on there, but that was a popular show back then. How did that whole situation come about?
Wow, you're hitting really good stories, man. Again, it's going to make me, you're going to feel bad for me, I hope, but it's going to make me look like a jerk. So I walk into Poughkeepsie, and Howard Finkel goes, "Mario?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "We need you in Landover, Maryland next Tuesday." I go, "For what?" He goes, and this is April or May of 85. Maybe it was after I worked with Bundy. That was in March of 85. So it had to be April or May. So I wasn't even in a year yet. So Finkel goes, "We need you in Landover, Maryland on Tuesday." I go, "For what?" He goes, "Tuesday Night Titans." I go, "Really?" He went, "Yeah." So I kind of couldn't feel my legs. So I sat down and I went, "It happens this fast? I'm going to be a superstar that fast? It happens that fast? They must really like me. Wow. I'm going on Tuesday Night Titans. Holy mackerel. I'm going to be a star. Oh, Jesus. I wonder what they have in store for me." Pete Doherty comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Mario." He goes, "You going to Landover next Tuesday?" I go, Yeah. I'll see you there. I'm going too." Lombardi comes up to me. "Hey, you going to Landover?" I go, "Uh-huh." Rusty Brooks. Love Rusty. I go up to Rusty. I go, "You going to Landover, Maryland next Tuesday?" He goes, "Yeah." "You going?" I go, "Uh-huh." So I go back up to Finkel and I go, "Hey, Howard, what's it about?" He goes, "Oh, it's the unsung heroes of wrestling, the losers." Okay. And there went the dream. There went the dream. So Roma came, and I tried. I was so nervous. I mean, I'm the one sitting closest to Vince. He puts up a clip of me working with Bundy. I said a lot of more things than they edited out, because I had said to him, "Vince, I go by your commentary that one wrong move by any of these guys and my career skyrockets." So, because he asked me, what goes through my mind to agree to sign a contract to wrestle a guy named like King Kong Bundy? And that was my answer to him. You know what I mean? But that didn't make it. So I did make sure I said, I'm 18 years old. I wanted the fans to know how young I was because I was the youngest guy in the WWE then. And I was even younger than the Tonga Kid. So, after that, they had a little get together with this comedian. We played Rock'em Sock'em Robots. And, it was a fun time. So it was a fun time.
And I'll just throw this one in because it's a simple question before we get on to the Lombardi story. What is your diet like today? Obviously, you were telling us last time you were a good cook. I haven't eaten yet, so don't go too much into the details of your cooking ability, but has it changed much over the years?
Well, it has. I mean, I'm an outstanding cook, and I can thank my father for that. And I'm even a better baker, believe it or not. I have a hobby where I make 46 different kinds of cheesecakes. But my diet has changed dramatically since 9 years. Because 9 years ago, I ate anything that came across the table. I think in 2011, I'm 257 now. In 2011, I blew up to 316 pounds. I ate anything that came across the table. And it was when I was 47 years old, 9 years ago, where the skin on the side of my feet, it felt really rough. And at the time I was married, and my wife was like, just need to put some cream on there. I think it'd be okay. But what I didn't know was that was the beginning of diabetic neuropathy. My nerves were dying in my feet, and I didn't know it. And I didn't know I was pre-diabetic. I had went to Disney I took my kids to Disney, met Jimmy Laritt's there at Animal Kingdom. But anyway, that's another story. He used to be a catcher for the Yankees. And I was very fatigued. And my mother-in-law was like, well, maybe you're getting sunstroke or something. No, I was eating all this Disney food, and my sugar must have been like 400. So I was going into hyperglycemia, and I didn't know it because I didn't know I was diabetic. So in other words, I have type 2 diabetes. So it's hard. I'm trying to lose weight. It's hard to lose weight with the medication I'm on, but I'm giving it hell. So, my diet, I usually have either 2 whole eggs in the morning, or I'll do 8 egg whites. I'll just put some turkey breast or chicken breast over a salad in the afternoon. And at night, I'll eat some ground turkey. I'll either mix that with hot sauce and put some pasta zero in it. It's mushroom pasta. It's late at night that kills me, man, because I got to stop buying it. It's the 647 bread. It's high fiber, low carb bread. The only thing is I have a very difficult time in moderation. That's my problem. You know what I mean? So I can buy a loaf of bread and it'll be gone in like 2.5 days. And that's low carb bread. And, I'll just put sugar-free jelly on it, or I'll make a turkey sandwich on it and whatever. And if I'm really, really busy, which a lot of times I am, unfortunately, I with my job on the road and everything, I'll go get a Whopper, a double Whopper and a plate. I'll go get a Big Mac and a plate, without the bread, So, but then, if I go to a restaurant, I'll convince myself that the chicken wings are okay because there's no carbs in it, but there's a lot of fat in it. To put it to rest, I just got my numbers like maybe 6 weeks ago, and my cholesterol's good. My A1C is 6.3, and the liver, kidneys, everything's good. So my numbers are good. So I'm happy with that.
That's good. Sounds like you might be more healthy than me. But let's get into the Brooklyn Brawler, Steve Lombardi story. you said you were going to tell us it on this podcast before Christmas to kind of end the year. We recently had him on this show. You didn't come up, but I guess you had some heat with him at one point.
Well, here's the situation, and I want it to be known now since I got it off my chest. After all these years, Hannibal, and you seem to be the same stand-up guy. In my opinion, you're the same stand-up guy. So say we had heat again with each other, and for years we just badmouthed each other. Now there's guys out there that will come face to face together one day and go, "Hey, how you doing?" You seem to be like a stand-up guy like me, and the heat will still be there. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you're not putting that face on just because you're meeting in person. I had a lot of hard feelings over the past 30 years because we were in the same position. The same position. He was Steve Lombardi. I was Mario Mancini. One day I walked into the dressing room, and that's the worst job I ever did. I had to do a job for him. I walked in the dressing room, and he had the hat, he had the torn Yankee sweatshirt, the cigar, and I said, "The Chief," I go, "What's that? What is that?" "What? Mind your business." I go, No. What is that? Where's my gimmick? Not a better worker than I am. No way. Not a better wrestler. I could talk on a microphone. Give me something. What is that? "Chief, what is it?" Finally, he took me aside and he said, "You want to pay those dues?" I said, "Shut up." "Okay." So I was mad for years. Because I tried to make it on my talent. So now I'm in Baltimore. Was it Baltimore or was it Pennsylvania? Jersey. I think it was Jersey. That's where I had my brother Kevin with me. And I was talking to him, looking to the left, and I looked forward, and Lombardi was standing right in front of my table, staring at me. And I went, he went, "You don't even remember me, do you?" I go, "Oh, no, I remember you, Lombardi." "Oh, I remember. Did you have a good career? It was good. Did you make a lot of money? Did you have a great career, Steve? I'm so happy for you." He goes, "What's the problem?" I go, "What's the problem?" I go, "You were better than me." "You're better than me?" No. I had Strongbow. You had Patterson. Standing behind you, giving you a push. And Hannibal went. I said, "I didn't have that." And he said, Pat hurt me more than helped me." I said, "How dare you say that about that man now that he's dead? How dare you say that?" So I got everything off my chest. Somebody came up and interrupted him and talked to him while he was in front of my table. And Kevin looked at me and went, "Bro, you hammered the shit out of him." I go, "Yeah." He goes, I go, "What do you want me to let it go?" "Yeah." He goes, "You said everything you had to say, right?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, bro, come on." Kevin's one of those, he is the quintessential father, husband. He's got great kids, strong marriage, years. That guy. Let it go. So the guy walks away from Lombardi, and I get up from my table and I go around to him, and I put my arms out. I go, "Come on, Steve. And he came in and we hugged, and he said in my ear, he goes, "What was I supposed to do? Don't give it to me, give it to Mario?" I go, "No, Steve, that's not the point. But it's okay, man. Sorry, congratulations. Congratulations." Then after the convention was over, Scott Wilder took us out to eat, his crew, me, Roma, and Tugboat, the people that he hired to go there. And Lombardi was leaving the restaurant. He goes, "Was it okay that I ate here, Mario? Is that okay with you?" I said, "Steve, everything's good now." And everything is good now. You know what I mean? I always liked Steve. He was a good guy. And I'll say this about him. I love professional wrestling. I'm not doing it. I'm still teaching it. I have my own company, Paradise Alley, but he loved it too, man. I mean, it was his whole life, and he ended up staying with The Office for 30 years and really lived his dream. And that's fine. I'm good with him now. Lombardi's, I never had a problem with him or anything like that. It's just, I just really had sour grapes, man. I was mad.
Well, and I understand that Patterson, his friendship probably helped him, but as he told me off the air, he has all those rumors about him and Patterson that he's got to deal with that I don't think he likes, whether they're true or not. But we don't hear about those type of rumors with you. But last question here, just a quick one because I know you don't smoke weed. But
no, Fester. No, Fester, the last time I smoked weed was 1983 before Eddie Murphy concert, and I passed out and sweat right through my clothes because it was Thai stick and I didn't know what it was, and I never smoked it again. So next year will be my 40th anniversary. You know what? I will do an edible because my body hurts, but I'll never smoke it. But I'll eat half a cookie here and there.
Just watch out for the drinks because they can really mess you up, as I unfortunately found out. But you've got a wrestling school in Paradise Valley Wrestling, the wrestling league that I think you and Paul Roma run. Where
yeah,
can people find out more information?
Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling in East Haven, Connecticut. We just got a boatload of new students came out of nowhere. And I couldn't believe it. In this economy, we're so thankful. Really, really happy that it's going strong. We just had a show last night, and went really well. And we're just, Roma and I are just chugging along. Love Roma.
Yeah, and I think that answers the question. How is he nowadays? He's doing great.
Let me tell you something. Roma's 62. He looks like he's 42. He wears that cutoff shirt at the school when he's teaching. I go, "Are you ever going to get small? Is it ever going to happen? Are you ever going to lose these biceps?" And he just starts laughing. You know what I mean? He's just, another good family guy. Has a tremendous family, tremendous daughter, excellent athlete. What a shock. World-class gymnast. One day going to have national recognition. What a shock. You know what I mean? The genetics she has. So I don't know. I've seen him bench 440. I've seen him deadlift 500 like it was 125 pounds. I don't, but yeah. So,
well, it's good to know that everything's going well, and I wish your school and company a lot of success heading into 2023. Thank you for the 3 shoot interviews you've done with us this year, and I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans.
Well, this is what I want to tell the fans. This year, as well as last year and the year before, have been pretty tough years. Been kind of hard. Thank God gas prices are starting to come down a little bit, but the food prices are still pretty much soaring. And I know it's very hurtful this time of year because we're literally a week away from Christmas Eve. But still, not to withstand all that stuff. I want everybody to have a very happy holiday, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. Have a safe New Year. And to a very special friend in Brazil, E ti amo, Angelini. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos,